how does corruption affect like women and the youth specifically in Africa? Is it what's really holding us back, or is it just another thing that we have to contend with, I would say?
I think one of the issues we must have to contend with is that women and youth bear the biggest brunt of the burden of corruption. And I say this with a lot of confidence because I understand that these are the groups of the population that work the hardest. They don't get compensated sufficiently for what kind of work they do, because some of the resources that are required to provide services for them and compensate them for the work they do get lost in corruption.
True.
I'm not just talking about corruption in government. I'm even talking about domestic corruption, where women and youth are in the farm growing food, preparing produce, and at the time of sale, the man of the home disappears with the bag of money, probably goes to marry a second wife and leaves them without nothing. That in itself is corruption.
It is.
Of course, at a national and global level, different forms of corruption interfere with the resources that are available to a government to provide services to their people. When those services cannot be provided, the government then has to prioritize which services they are going to give. One of the things that happens is that the services that are needed desperately by young people, by women, do not get provided. So you'll find maternity care is not taken care of, children dying at birth, infant mortality, etc.
Education,
etc. And for young people, you now find unemployment. You may be aware that from Southern Africa all the way up Sub-Saharan Africa to Cairo, the youth problem, the main youth problem, top problem, all research studies is unemployment.
Yeah, looking at today's paper, it talks about 2.49 million people in between the ages of 15 and 64 being unemployed.
Absolutely.
And I'm looking at a situation whereby, is it by design that we are like that? In that we stay in spaces whereby you're not empowered economically, so you can't change a system. Because for you to lobby to change a system, it requires some...
It definitely requires resources to lobby to change a system. It actually requires resources to change a system. The owners of capital are the ones who then decide what happens in a society. So if young people are unemployed, they are disadvantaged from the onset when engaging in any processes.
True.
When engaging in businesses, they are disadvantaged because when the opportunities are available for them to be able to participate in business, sometimes they have limitations. Yesterday, I had a young man in our summit speaking about the fact that he got an order for rabbits. He keeps rabbits. He has plenty rabbits, and we all know what rabbits do. And so he has many of them. However, the person who needed the rabbits wanted them in tons. And so when they came to him, he did not have sufficient space to store the kind of rabbits they wanted. And he lost the business to somebody else. You wouldn't expect that is a disadvantage that is happening as a result of resources not being in his hands, but it is happening.
It is,
Apart from that, the space and opportunity to participate in governance is actually limited. You know that in Kenya we have had to exercise a lot of affirmative action to even get young people in government. It's the same story across the board in Africa. Young people have ideas, they are innovative, but they do not have space to participate in leadership. And some of them, especially amongst the Generation Z, have become disinterested in politics. And yet, you cannot exist without politics. We are encouraged to seek first the kingdom of politics.
The kingdom
and everything else
of politics and everything
shall be
else
added unto us.
That's why,
by Plato.
Yeah, that's why I'm pretty much disgusted by the systems that came before us, because there's very little to none chance to actually change a system that first we don't understand as a youth, and even when you join the front as youth and women, we are still disenfranchised. And you've said the capitalists are actually the custodians of this thing called system.